Hi. Okay, Mike is moving. That's good. Let me turn it down a little bit here. I don't know if you can hear that, but we're starting the year appropriately because there's children screaming outside in the daycare downstairs. There's a couple of young children having a bit of a meltdown. And I think they're just vocalizing what we all feel. Hi, I'm back. It's 2026. What's the actual date? It's a week and a day into 2026. How's it going for you? You don't have to answer. I think I probably know how it's going. Oh boy, I seriously debated not doing this today because there's so much going on in the world that is horrible. I don't think I need to spell it out, but my thoughts are with you, American friends. You know. But the point of doing this usually is to provide, as I say in the social media posts, a bit of a timeline cleanse, a place to go to unplug and to remind ourselves that there are nice things in the world. So that's what I'm hoping to provide. If I could be heard over the screaming children, then you know. Hi. So the good news is, let's see if we can think of some. The builds are going well this week. I'm back at work this week for the first full week of the year, and yeah, getting stuff done. So I had a commission that I had planned to do for the first week, and then the client had a change of situation, so they couldn't do it. So what I decided to do instead, Bill Jan, hello, nice to see you. I love the folks on Owncast, and of course Ghost of Bodefeld. I should have acknowledged the first, as always. So yeah, I had a commission, and then they had to do something else. We'll be getting to that at a later date. So rather than jump into another commission, I have a few commissions lined up, thankfully, already for this month. But I decided to just let's start easy. Let's start with something that I've done a lot before. So I just decided, because I need to get stuff on the shop anyway, I'm just gonna do a couple of greeblies, the things I've done 1,000 times before, and my stock standard stuff. But it's going well, thankfully, and I do feel, you know, the momentum is starting to build, so that's good. And all of the builds, there's been no problems, which is kind of what I wanted. I just needed something that I could do easy and not rushed, and yeah. I really hope that the children go inside soon. This is usually around the time when they take the kids inside. It just happens to be warmer than normal today for this time of year. So, although who knows, right? This is probably it from now on. But anyway, of course, I should probably do this before he decides to leave. Although he will be back, because we do have to close the door again today. But let's get the Jimmy cameo out of the way here, because yes. Say hello to 2026, Jimmy. You can't hear the kids. Okay, good, because I sure can. Let me tell you, it's a lot. Anyway, I'm gonna try and not have him brush up against the mic. I know it's a little dark. This camera is. I've been trying literally for hours to get this camera to behave, and it's not. All of the cameras are wrong. Hello, there we go. There's my boy. Yes, wish, oh, love. Okay, there we go. We got the first Jimmy cameo of 2026. Jimmy's the star here, right? Jimmy and the frog. I'm just the guy who facilitates it all. All right, James. He's still here. He's just in my lap. Yes. Okay, buddy. I need to start working soon, so we're just getting warmed up. Getting warmed up with some Jimmy. Yes, hello. I could actually zoom the camera out a bit more and you can see a bit more of him, but I'm having to kind of hold him up for this, which I think he's kind of enjoying, to be honest. He is purring like a madman, who often purr, as you know. Anybody? You know? Okay, so can I? No, nope, I can't. Nope, not allowed. I need more loving, apparently. There you go. Sit on your bench. Jimmy got a new bench. Santa brought Jimmy a new bench. So, brand new bench. See the bench? Shep the Bud, nice to see you. Hello. Let's see, where are we going? I don't know why. This is going to be out of focus, but there's Jimmy's new bench. Hey, what better way to start the year than with the internet and a cat? Am I a little out of focus? I'm probably a little out of focus. Like I said, I literally spent like an hour before the stream trying to get this camera to cooperate. I had to make an account on Canon.com because it's 2026 and everything is terrible. Anyway, we're not going to dwell on that. Puppets, huh? Let's show what's on the bench. How about that? That'll be fun. Hey, a couple of Greeblies. I didn't realize till after the fact, these two will never be in the same shot at the same time if they're green screening. Because one's blue and one's green. So, yeah, that's the thing. But the important thing is to not mix blue and green on the same puppet, right? Because then you can't composite them with either a blue screen or a green screen, which are the two common types of screens, of course. So yeah, it is a nice screen. I just happened to see it and I grabbed it, and I've got a bunch more of it too. So we'll probably see a bunch of this green in various. YouTube chat is broken. Oh, good. Hang on. Thank you, Indy. Thank you, as always. The wind beneath my wings. I've got it up there. Let's try again. I'll stop and close that source. Select live sources. That one, activate selected. All right, there we go. There we go. I think that's it. Okay, there's actually a good question here. Joe asks, I think, is that Joe Weatherford? I think it might be Joe Weatherford. Anyway, sorry, I didn't recognize the username. Hey, got a question for you. Since you can't see this, I'll just read it out. Have you ever done female puppets? There we go. There we go. Thank you, Indy. Have you ever done female puppets? And if so, what's your approach on breasts? Do you approach them before or after the skinning? So I haven't actually done a specifically female form like that in that way yet. But if I were to do it before, I would build the understructure first and then skin it. And I would approach it like I would approach anything else. I have done something that would be an equivalent thereof. When I did, I don't have any examples around me, but when I did both a neef recently and one of my alligators, the alligator was Mississippi, because what I did was I carved out of EVA foam kind of the upper form of the nostrils, and then I glued those to the foam understructure, and then when I skinned it, I sprayed a little bit of spray adhesive and then sort of laid it down, just very, very light on the spray adhesive, or you can just, put some contact cement. And I kind of laid it over top and made sure that the adhesive was grabbing it, and so it would sort of lay nicely in all of the curves. Same thing for any body form like that. That's how I would do it. Now, you could also, depending on, of course, if the character is going to be clothed or not, you could do it after the fact. You could then sculpt the thing and skin it and then attach it with like a ladder stitch or something. That is also a perfectly valid way to do it. If I were going to do it, I'd want to try and make it as seamless as possible. So I would probably do it on the foam understructure and then skin it. But again, there's no wrong way. I think that's it's whatever works for your brain and your muscles. That's the thing. So that's how I would do it. Anyway, yeah, so good. There we go. We're off to a flying start. I got a question already. Nice stuff. Hopefully my mic isn't blown out. I know I've been having a problem with this mic. All of my equipment is old, and I can't afford to do anything about that. So we're just going to keep this thing rolling as long as we can until the wheels fly off. But anyway, what are we going to do? We're going to do the same thing we've done a lot on stream. I'm going to get a throat lozenge now because I can hear my voice starting to give out already. Been missing the streams, glad I made it. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, we are back, hitting the ground. Not running, but I guess cantering would be a better way to put it. But what I need to do, now I've got both of the base forms here, we just got to finish these. So I got to do eyes, hair, whatever else I'm going to put on them. Tongues, you know, just finish the features. So I've decided I'm going to do one with hemisphere eyes, hence the hemisphere eyes, and one with spherical eyes. I've got those over here. So the first thing I think I want to do is do the eyelids for the hemispheres, which I've done on stream 1,000 times before, so I apologize. I know this is going to seem like repetition, and it is. But this is also just because I do the streaming on the same day all the time. I'm going to be at a similar point in the build. So, oh well, we just get to see this again. Some of you I know, there hopefully will be new. So we've got a couple of new people in the Discord who will either be joining us live or watching on the VOD. So this may be the first time that they see it. So we're just going to assume that somebody will be seeing this for the first time and go from there. Let me get the mouse out of the way here so I don't accidentally turn something off that I shouldn't. Okay, so we're going to start by doing some eyelids. Let's go to the top-down cam. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. All right. That composition doesn't look too bad. That seems usable at least. Do you like the Bloodywood t-shirt? I needed something both uplifting and inspirational, and also empowering and hopeful. Bloodywood is all of those things. If you like heavy metal, don't sleep on Bloodywood. Trust me on this. I will be screaming this from the rooftops forever. I'm going to get these off of the work surface. I'm going to put them up on my shelf up here just to get them out of the way for the moment. We'll keep one close. I haven't decided which one should have the spherical and which one should have the hemisphere. You sit over here with the frog. Okay, got the green ones together. Eyelids, huh? Yes, eyelids. So these are my 3D printed eyes. I do these all the same way. I do a peg that's got a thread on it, and then an inner shaft that's got the inverse thread on it, and you can just plop these on as a backing and then literally screw them into place. If you scream from a rooftop, wait for a warmer day. It's quite warm here today. I've actually got this is why I can hear the screaming children. I've got the window open. We're going to need the window open because I got to get the danger running out soon anyway. So it's, yeah, surprisingly warm. It's going to be above freezing today. Let's see. It's going to be a high of 5 degrees. I don't know what that is in American, but that's 5 degrees above zero, which is freezing. So it's going to be warmer than freezing, which is probably not unusual anymore, you know, because climate change, but hey. So in order to do these eyelids, the first thing that we need to be able to do is to make sure that they're even. Both of these eyes are even. And I have a method for doing that. And I will show you what that method is. What I have here, as you can see, 0 degrees Celsius here today. Yeah, so you're at freezing. It's very easy to remember Celsius. 0 is freezing. 100 is boiling. So everything else in between there, you know. Oh, Jimmy's awake and yelling. Hi. Could you not yell? I've got enough yelling happening out the window. Yeah. Oh, I know. Jimmy has things to say. Anyway. As always, there's so many distractions just trying to get on with the puppet building. Good thing there's not much left in either of these. So yes, here we are. I have this box, and this just happens to be a box that had jumbo ping pong balls in it, but this is just for convenience. But what I have on this box is a little kind of crosshairs here, right? I got a circle with a hole in the middle, and there's another hole, little tiny hole down here. And what this is for is a kind of bracket to hold the hemisphere in place. So what I do is I take the peg part, poke that up through the hole, put that down like that, and now we have a way of seeing where the exact center is. So now, yes, James. Yeah, I know. He's yapping at me. I don't know if you can hear it. We take a compass. That's what this little hole's for. The compass that has a locking mechanism that doesn't have a spring mechanism, that's important. And we kind of decide about where do we want to draw this line. And I'm just going to go about halfway because that seems about right. Yes, Jimmy. And everything's determined to interrupt me today. I'm not going to let it. So I hold this in place, hold this in place, and I just lightly draw with the pencil end that line. So I know you can see that more or less. The exposure is a bit off for that, but you know, we've got extremes of dark and light here, so. And there we go. There's one. And so that line is about halfway. So, you know, I can decide which side I want to put the actual eyelid on. And likewise, we just do it again for the second one. And this way, this will help, not guarantee, but help to make them even. Again, we're working with soft materials, so things are going to stretch and compress and move around, and accuracy is the goal, but never the achievement. It's enough you can sort of see the pencil line, but the pencil is one of those you won't see it or you will. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, you gotta see it. Trust me, there's a line through the middle of this now. It's like a Pokeball, I guess. not knowing much about Pokemon. I think it's what a Pokeball looks like, right? They're divided in half. I guess it's a quarter of a Pokeball. Okay. So now that we have that, the problem is, hang on, can we see this with the close-up cam? Let me see. I got a little webcam here on a stand. This might be a little bit better to demonstrate. Still got the contrast problem, but it's not too bad. The problem is that this line now, it goes straight across, and that's not how eyelids work. Eyelids are, you know, again, depending on the character, depending what you want. Sharpie is a pain to work with on FDM prints. So yeah, you don't. Well, that's the reason I'm using pencil is because you can erase it, right? That's important. Although we are going to cover it up so that you won't see the pencil line even if I don't erase it. But that is in case I make a mistake or doing this. What I want to do is actually I want to make this curved. I want it to come down at the corners. So what I'm going to do is get a pencil. Or possibly a pencil. And I'm going to use the line that we drew as the kind of upper bound. And I'm going to make another mark slightly lower down. We could have done this on the rig, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Huh? Get it? So I made a mark slightly lower down. Sharpies like to smear everywhere. Try to avoid. Yeah, absolutely. I only use Sharpies like when I'm drawing patterns like on the actual cardboard pattern or paper pattern, not on the fabric, obviously. Never use Sharpie on a fabric. Unless you're literally trying to color it and stain it. So there we go. I've made a mark slightly lower down, and that's about, I don't know, I'll try and do this in inches. It's about a half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch. It's about 5 millimeters. All right, so I've done the same on either side, and now I'm just going to kind of sketch out a curve freehand. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that. Right, and this will, I'm just going to follow that curve. In fact, since it's a pencil, I'll just smudge it, not erase it. Oh well, doesn't matter. We know which end is going to be the fabric covered end now. But yeah, so there we go. And all that will do is just introduce a slight, introduce a slight curve to the eyelid. So do the same thing on this side. You can be way more precise than what I'm doing. I don't aim for super precision. I don't mind, as I've often said, a little bit of organic lumpiness and asymmetry. I think actually looks nice. So there we go. Now we have our lines. So we know the lines we're going to follow to make our eyelids. Let's go back to the overhead cam, get this out of the way. So you can kind of see it. I know it's the glare. Trust me, there's lines. So now I'm going to decide on the color, which means I need to decide which of the two of these are going on. So eyelids always make me think a little sleepy. And since one is green and one is blue, I think the blue seems like naturally sleepy and the green seems like naturally high energy. And the spherical eyes aren't going to have eyelids, and so they're going to seem like wide awake and bright and open. So I think we're going to go with the eyelids on the blue. Just, it's the natural, progression of just like lazy, sleepy blue, So what color are we going to do the eyelids? I'm looking over at my fleece stash here. Purple seems to be a good choice, I think, as it complements the blue. It's not, you can either do a complementing or a contrasting, and the contrasting color in this case would be like an orange, which wouldn't necessarily be bad, but I think a purple would be better. Now let me just see what I have. I'm gonna have to stand up and go off camera here for a sec. What do I have purple-wise? I have, let me just cut a little chunk of this. So I have a very light pastel purple, like that. I don't think I have anything else at the moment. I could dig through my scrap bag. Let's just give a quick cursory glance. I'd like something a little darker if I have it, but I don't know if I have it. So, got a lot of fur scraps, not a lot of fleece scraps. I did clean things out a bit over the holiday break, so more of that same purple. Yeah, I think it's gonna have to be this. I have a little bit of this. This is very precious. This is my red. This is like solid red. This is only for noses and possibly other things if I need it, but noses tend to be the thing that I make out of red more often than anything else. So yeah, this is all, oh, other than this is the last remaining scrap of my custom dyed Kermit fleece. Just a little tiny bit left. It's actually not that tiny. There's a fair amount there. I can do something with that. But yeah, that's the expensive stuff. But yeah, okay, we're gonna go with this purple because it's the only purple I've got for the moment. So, Jimmy, what are you doing? Get it? Jimmy's playing in the fur scraps. Come on, buddy. I don't want to accidentally roll over you. And that's very easy to do in this tiny, tiny room with a big cat in it. Oh, yes. He knows I'm talking to him. Yeah. Gonna have to close the door in a second, buddy. We're almost ready for the door closing time. The worst time ever. Also, Daddy is having a throat lozenge and Jimmy does not care to be mentholated, so. Hi. Yeah, I know. Oh, you don't smell good. Why would you do that to yourself? Okay, so what we need to do, since we're going with this purple for sure. Oh, we also are going to need, I'll get this out now, some sticky back craft foam. I'm standing up and Jimmy is sitting at the foot of the chair. I am almost certain he's planning to steal my chair. You just wait. Here we go. Here is some sticky back craft foam. We're gonna need that in a moment. Those of you who've seen this before will already know what that's for. Oh, Jimmy did not steal my chair. Jimmy, in fact, I think is leaving. He is. I'm gonna close the door while I can to avoid making him feel like he's been kicked out. Yes, I do think about that kind of thing. Okay, the chamber is sealed. Right, eyelids. I'm focused, are you? Okay, here we go. So what we gotta do is to make sure that the direction of the stretch is going horizontally, and it is. So we're going to cut it in half this way. It's still considerably more than we need, but that's okay. We will be trimming it away momentarily. So there we go. And what we're going to be doing is following that line and gluing this across the eye, like so. Which means that we are going to need a nice, as straight an edge here as we can possibly get. I'm not going to use a ruler. I am just going to eyeball this, but I'm going to use the big scissors and try and do it in a single cut. Right, we don't want little scrappy bits flying off the edge. Okay, good enough. So, now what we need to do, we gotta take these off the pegs. And we've got to get some adhesive on here. There's a couple of different ways that we can go about this. You can use contact cement and brush it on. Being very careful to brush it on very lightly on the fleece. We also want to make sure we're on the underside of the fleece, the obverse. Or sorry, no, not the obverse, the reverse. The obverse is the front. Did you know that? Well, now you do. See? You come to me for all kinds of weird education. Puppet building, archaeology, and English etymology. What am I even doing? Anyway, but I think what I'm going to do, rather than use contact cement, because I have a very little bit left. Here's the danger, honey. Here's the barge. This is about that full, maybe even less. And that's all I've got, which is much less than I thought I had. And this is extremely expensive for me to get now, particularly with all of the import issues, because that stuff is manufactured in the States. Problem for me here in Canada. I can get it if I want to pay a monstrous amount of money. I may actually be looking for an alternative that I can get more locally, just because I literally can't afford to get the barge anymore. which is a problem, but hey, a problem for a later date. Hopefully I will have enough to get through the commissions I have this month with that. I should do, but I'm trying to go light on it. So as a result, I'm going to use spray adhesive for these because that's much easier for me to get. So, and much, much cheaper. So what I'm going to need to do for that is get out something I can block the spray with. Now I've got a, you know what? So I got a box. I got a box here. What I meant to do, and I totally just at the moment now I'm realizing I forgot to do this. I was going to turn this into my new spray hood. It's like a little, like a baffle that I put to stop the spray from going everywhere. But I didn't do that because I forgot until literally just now. So I'll try and dig out my old one here, which is in tatters and pieces, and is really just a folded piece of garbage at the moment. I'll see if I can give this one last go. Are you even gonna, you might actually be okay. All I need you to do is exist for a little while longer. I know you can't see it because I have to fold it in such a way. How about this? Is this gonna work? That's a little better, huh? I just need something here to block the spray because I don't want it going everywhere. All right, just, it's not, you want to fold up like that. That's a problem. Can you just cooperate for one more run? One more run is all I need out of you, buddy. Replace high tariff danger honey with locally sourced danger maple syrup, you know. I've had some, not since I got diagnosed with diabetes, but I've had some that definitely would qualify. Okay, here we go. One last run for the old spray hood. Let's make sure we got the right direction here. There we go. There's the stretch. So we do have our nice clean edge here. I've got the fan going in the window. I should put some gloves on. Hey, let's get a whole new, brand new pair of gloves for 2026. Here we go. Okay. So we got to get the spray adhesive out, and then we will spray the spray adhesive. We are not sponsored by Gorilla Brand, but if they do want to send me free stuff, I will accept it. This is what I currently can get easily, and it's fine. Like, it's not, you know, amazing or anything. Orb, nice to see you. Yes, it is indeed puppet time. I think you probably only joined for the Warframe streams, haven't you? Well, yeah, no, this is what I do. This is my day job. Hello. Spray adhesive. Here we go. Very carefully and lightly spraying the spray adhesive. Here we are. So we just want to let that kind of dry for a second. And then very, very carefully trying to not get a bunch of glue on our fingers, because it's going to get messy and we want to keep it nice and tidy. First puppet stream. Maybe you notice I'm working. Oh, yeah, no worries. This is the thing. I'm doing the, you know, the build streams happen in that, like, for me in the morning. So I know a lot of people are at work right now. This is why we archive everything, so you can always watch the VOD. Okay. So now that we let that dry a little bit, I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to follow that line. And I'm going to tack it down, and we're going to stretch it as the spray hood collapses. Thank you. We do want to stretch it. We want to sort of make it lie nicely over the surface like that. And that's it for the moment. We're just gonna get it following that line down onto the surface, and we're gonna let that extra just kind of hang off the end there. That's fine. We want that. I'll show you why momentarily. But there we go. That is all we want to do with that. Put that aside. Get the next one. Gingerly. Following the line we drew. Like so, and then we tack it down. And we are actually done with the spray hood. Thank you for your service, Walmart box. Soon to be replaced with a brand new box. Okay. So now that we've got our fabric down like so, I'm going to keep the gloves on. I don't really need the gloves anymore, but just until I get all this trimmed away, because there's still a whole bunch of sticky adhesive on the back here that I really don't want on my fingers. I'm going to use some scissors. These happen to be non-stick scissors. Eyelids, yes. Yeah, I know you came in a bit late. Yes, these are indeed eyelids. These are non-stick scissors. These are just regular scissors that are covered with like Teflon or something. And it just helps for the for the sticky glue not to stick to them. And we're going to trim away, except a little bit of basically a seam allowance. Leave a little bit. Like so. All right, so we've got that little bit. Now, before the glue completely dries, what we want to do is fold this over. And you can do this, let's say you're using like ping pong balls, you've cut a ping pong ball in half, same process. I just happen to have my nice 3D printed ones, but you can do this, as long as you've got an empty hemisphere, it's the same process. So there we go. And so that means that when you put this on the puppet, you've got a nice clean edge there. And you need to press it down to get rid of some lumps, but hey, there's always going to be lumps, you know what I'm saying? Welcome to Lump Town. Population U. So, same deal with our other one. Fold it over. You're not sticking anymore. That's okay. We'll take care of that in a second. Let the glue dry a little too long and it's not sticky anymore, but we can handle that in the next step. All right, so let's go to the close-up cam and take a look at what we've actually got. A little bit better. As you can see, we're already looking pretty good. Let's go to, where are we at here? There we are. So yeah, we've got a really uneven and hard to position on the camera eyes. So there we go. So yeah, I've just folded it over in the back here, and so the edge that you're actually going to see is nice and tidy. And yeah, you will have the occasional little fold or whatever. That's okay. Don't worry about that. That's all going to be sort of sunk into the surface of the puppet anyway, so you're not really going to notice that. It's all fine. You can be as as particular as you like, or you can just sort of roll with it. And I tend to roll with it. Unless it's really egregious, and then I'll have to do something about it. But, for the most part, looking handmade is not necessarily a bad thing, particularly these days, right? So, now that we're here, the other thing I want to do is put the black line, which I guess would be eyeliner. At least in my world it would be. And that's what the sticky back craft foam is for. So we want to cut a nice thin strip. I can actually take these off now. I don't need the gloves anymore. And to do that, we're going to take a nice long ruler. And as you can see, I've used this for other stuff, so I got to trim this off. I'm going to take an X-Acto knife or a razor blade, being very careful, of course, because these are very sharp. I'm going to stand up so I can apply some controlled pressure, because that's what we all need right now, is controlled pressure. And I'm just going to cut a strip for our leading edge, being very careful with the extremely sharp knife. There we are. So now we have a nice clean edge. We want to make this as long as we can, because hopefully we can do this both with the same piece, although my suspicion is we can't. These are 55 millimeter eyes, so they're pretty big. Probably need to cut a couple of strips. And it's really hard to cut two of these evenly. There are some leather working tools that will actually help with this, to cut like straps evenly. Let's see, that's not too bad. Do we think we can get two out of this? Let's find out. Let's fold this in half. Cut it. Oh yeah, you know, we should be able to get two. We'll just have just enough, I think. Okay, that's good. We'll go with that. So, putting the safety cap back on the X-Acto knife. I'm hyper paranoid about cutting myself, so I'm always very, very aware of what I'm doing with a sharp blade, as you should be. So the other thing we're going to need in a second is ye good old glue gun. So let me get that out. It's been warming up. I have to use my mini glue gun, which is terrible at the moment, because I've got like an excess for a while. You see, I was trying to order full-size glue sticks so I could use my usual nice, precise industrial glue gun here. But they being Amazon, kept sending me the mini glue sticks. They must have had it wrong in their catalog, because they definitely were full size that I ordered. And like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times in a row, they sent me mini ones, and it was more than my trouble's worth to send them back and refund it. Yeah. So I have a large cache of the mini sticks, so I have to use them up now. Because well, I'm not going to buy more, just in case they keep sending me minis. But I have a lot of them, so I'm going to try and use them up. So I'm going to use them up on stuff like this, but I have to use my terrible mini glue gun, and they're awful and I hate them. I mean, I have a antagonistic relationship with hot glue in general, or hot melt, as it's more correctly called. As you know, if you're a regular, you know my feelings on Crafter's napalm here. But speaking of glue sticks, let me just grab some. I swear we are not actually sponsored by Gorilla, but if you do want to send me free stuff, I'll take it. Just get a couple out. The problem with the mini sticks, other than the terrible gun, which I could always do something about, is they didn't go so quickly. Like I'll be in the middle of trying to glue something, and the glue is already like I need to reload, and that's a problem. Crafter's napalm, yes, hot melt, aka hot glue, which isn't really glue. I got a whole thing. I hate this stuff. This stuff is terrible. The only time I've ever really injured myself is with this stuff. It's awful. And I use like dangerous, like industrial level chemicals, and this is the thing that's actually caused me harm. All right, anyway, I'm peeling the sticky back off of the sticky back craft foam, and we are going to apply our little strip here. I'm just going to leave a little bit dangling off the edge because we're going to need to wrap that around. But right along that line, Stretching a little bit, pressing down as we go, like so. And I am leaving these off hanging off the edge on purpose, because what we're going to do is wrap them around like this. Now that's not going to hold. That's what the hot glue is for. We're going to like tack some hot glue down into there, and when it sets, it'll hold these nice and firm. And that's it. There's our eye. Very, very nice, very tidy. Having a nice finished edge is always be the thing that ups your quality level. I burned myself many times with hot glue. My glue gun's kind of broken. It doesn't just kind of stop heating up. So, oh wow, yeah, no, replace that. That's actively dangerous. If you can replace it, replace it. All right, same thing for the other eye, of course. We're gonna fold these around. Now, remember what I said, despite the fact that one of these, I can't remember which one it was, probably this one, the adhesive was not quite holding it down. This is where we can address that. So, speaking of burning yourself, I got a new one for Christmas, don't worry. Okay, good stuff. This is where I'm actually going to have to get in here with my fingers and press this down with the hot glue on it. So the tip for doing that is you have to learn how long to leave the hot glue before you attempt to touch it. I can't tell you that, unfortunately. If you don't leave it long enough, it's going to burn you. If you leave it too long, it's not going to hold. So unfortunately, this is the kind of thing you have to, silicone finger, yes. Well, yes, that would definitely help. I don't happen to have any. I've done this 1,000 times, so I'll be okay. But we're just gonna put a little bit, and I mean a little bit, of hot glue under the surface, not over the surface, under where you want to tack it down. I know it's really hard to show this on camera because I can't get the camera close enough, but there's a little bit of hot glue in there. We're just going to leave that for a second, and we're going to leave it long enough to get the glue in the second eye. And I'm just kind of going around the edges of what we want to tack down. I'm just kind of pushing the glue into place. Like so. And by the time we're done with the second eye, this should be okay to handle now. And it is. We just want to make sure we're all tidy and pressed down where we should be. That's good. And how are we doing here? It's a little, it's not hot anymore, but it's still a little viscous. We want to make sure that that is pressing to the surface and not lifting off. And it is. Okay, there we go. Good stuff. 2 eyes. 2 eyes and no waiting. So, that's that. That went really fast. Where are we at here? 10:48. We're almost at the halfway point. This is going fast. First stream back in the new year, and we're going fast. But there we go. So let's have a look at that on the actual puppet. Let's do a fun thing rather than a necessary thing. Andrew on Geese, good username. I'm working on a new live hands puppet. His name is Big Boris. Hello, and hello to Big Boris. So we're putting this on the blue one. So let's get the blue one here. And hit myself in the face with it. I wouldn't recommend it. Don't hit yourself in the face with anything unless you really enjoy that. I'm going to take a clip and clamp the mouth closed just so we can get a better idea So the puppet doesn't look like it's constantly screaming, you know. That's just us inside all the time. Now let's see how these are going to feel. Yeah, these are pretty good. I like the size. They're nice and big. These are going to look pretty good. Yeah. Yep, we're good. We good. So that's where we're going with these. But this is not the only puppet. We have our other Greebly, the green one, back there hanging out with the frog. And that one, let me just go back to the overhead cam here. That one's going to use spherical eyes. And the spheres I happen to have, you can use ping pong balls, you can use any kind of sphere that you have or want, but I happen to have a small supply of these very nice EVA foam spheres. So these are solid EVA foam. These are made by Stacy Gordon of puppetpie.com. I'm pretty sure she still does it. Actually, it's been a while since I checked in. She is also the puppeteer for Julia on Sesame Street. And she is a puppet builder, and she sells puppet making supplies, and she is a lovely person. And I shout out to Stacy. But these EVA foam spheres she sells on her shop, and they are gorgeous. I know you can't really see. Maybe if we get it close up to the camera here, but there, yeah, you can kind of see that. They've got a beautiful texture, right? They got this kind of stippled, soft texture on them, and I absolutely love how these look on camera. So these are what I tend to use if I'm going to use spherical eyes. But there, of course, is a problem with the spherical eye. And let me see if I can demonstrate that problem. We've got our puppet here. Here's our puppet. And we want to attach these eyes to this puppet's head. How? Are you just going to put down some glue and glue these on? I wouldn't advise it, because first of all, you've got one shot. And if it goes wrong, you've got to start all over again. But also, if you just glue these to the surface, they're going to move around. They're going to like migrate, and they're not going to be steady. They're not going to be even. You need something to brace them. You need some kind of backing to kind of hold them in place. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a little bracket that will go under, sandwiched between the fleece and the foam, with some. We're going to use screws. You can use any kind of peg, but like anything that you can mount the sphere on, that will kind of stick up from the head, and you can mount the spheres on that, and that will keep them in place, and it will keep them together. That's the other thing. You want to make sure that the eyes stay in, like, if they're going to move together. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a little bracket, but we're pretty much at the halfway point, and I could use a coffee refill. So I'm going to take a little very brief break here to fill up my coffee cup, and we'll be right back. And I will sit and chat for a moment. And also I can close that window now because it's quite getting a little chilly in here. So give me one moment. I will be right back, and enjoy the Be Right Back screen. All right, we are back. I have my halfway point coffee. His lighting is driving me nuts. It's okay. I'll at some point possibly work on. I had a whole month to work on this. Why didn't I do that? I was working on a few other things, and also I actually got a little bit of downtime in, which was very nice. So, oh boy, this is going pretty good. This is going fast. And nothing's going wrong, which is kind of how this whole build has been, which is honestly a little unusual. Things usually go a bit wrong. I'm just going to close the door a little bit. We're not going to close it all the way in case James Tiberius Cat wants to come in. But yeah, I have turned off the ventilation fan. And oh, speaking of Jimmy, hey, you want cameo number 2? Hi. He woke up. He went and had a nap. He woke up and he had a snack, and so now he's back. Here we go. If you're joining us a bit late, then you could have your Jimmy cameo, because Jimmy was here when I started the stream. He already had one cameo. I recently had a throat lozenge, buddy. You don't want to get too close to my face. He does not like the menthol. Yeah. Oh, hi. Yeah. How was your nap and snack? Good as usual? Jimmy is able to nap in an enviable way that I wish I could. You must teach me your ways. Yes. Oh, I know. Okay. Sit on your bench, buddy. Here we go. There's our Jimmy cameo. Number 2. It's a good way to start. See, it's an omen for how the rest of the year is gonna go. You got 2 Jimmy cameos. I'm trying to be hopeful. It's hard. Okay, where are we at here? 11:57. Good stuff. So yeah, I had like Stacy Gordon sells these in multiple sizes. These are the 40 millimeter. I know she also has a slightly larger size as well. I had those. I'm now currently out of them. I wouldn't mind doing the larger size on this puppet, but these are what I have, so these will be fine. But yeah, they're real good. I like them a lot, and they're easy to work with. And you can you can cut them in half for hemispheres, and they're all kinds of good. Okay, hey, Jimmy left. Let's get back to the building of the puppets. So what I'm going to do for this is actually a bit old school, because normally these days, I just be going, well, I'll just 3D print something, right? But no, we're gonna go back to the well, as it were. So what we want to do is make a bracket that will hold a couple of screws. Yes, actual screws. Because, and again, another nice thing about these EVA foam spheres is these are solid. So when you just like poke these in and just literally screw them down onto the screw, and you're done. That's it. It's good. So all I really need is a little piece of plastic with a couple of holes at the right distance. So what I'm going to use for that is I can pull it out here. It's been a long time since I used one of these. It's all tangled up here. These are, so if you don't have a 3D printer and you are looking for some interesting materials to work with, these are flexible cutting mats. You can get these like everywhere, like dollar stores and stuff. These are real good if you want to make like flexible mouth plates and don't want to use, or can't find, because they're getting increasingly hard to find, like gasket rubber for perhaps they were making a certain kind of celebrity amphibian. These do really well for making flexible mouth plates, because it's just thin plastic, but it's very, very flexible, as you can see, but it also springs back into shape. It's exactly what you want, and they're also very, very thin. So they are all kinds of good for a whole bunch of reasons. I've done this a whole bunch here, but basically what I'm just going to do is cut out a little chunk. And I'm not even going to like draw it or measure it or anything. I'm just going to get my junk shears out here. And as you can see, this one is for beef. Don't use it for anything other than beef. Beef or puppets, either one. And I'm just going to cut a little strip here. And then, once I've got a little strip, put that aside and try not to knock stuff off of my work surface here. I'm going to round off the ends. Just because. Now, let me see if I can find this. What I have done previously, and this will come in handy, and I recommend if you're going to do this kind of thing, you do it too, is I made a little template. And all that the template is, I can't find my template. I may have to make a new one, which would be fine. Easy to do, and it's on stream. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? There we go. I found it. Okay. So here's the template. Looks real complicated, huh? All this is a couple of, so I just, found where the center was and made two holes at 40 millimeter distance. Demon Dreamer, hello. Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. I now see that I have made my new piece of plastic a little bit too short, so let me redo that. In fact, let's be smart and actually use the template as a template. And speaking of Sharpie, so these holes are, in this case, they are at 40 millimeter. You want to go the diameter of your sphere, but slightly smaller. Now these are at 40, so that's actually a little wider than what we would want. It also depends on how far apart you want your eyes, so you may want them closer. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark these out like so. There we are. There's our template. We've got where the holes are marked. Now I'm going to cut this out. Doing it the right order. And I'm going to round off the edges as I do this. We don't want sharp edges, is what it comes down to, because it's going on a puppet. Now, because of soft materials and the way soft materials stretch and compress and all that kind of stuff, I actually want to make these holes considerably closer together than what the template shows. The template shows the actual diameter, but we want to come in a bit so the eyes will be pressed up against each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, if I can find them, these are leather punches, but you can use, well, leather punches are probably the best. You just want to make a hole. And so we've got a little leather punch here. And we're going to grab our nylon mallet, and I'm going to put this next to the hole I drew. And we're going to hammer that down and make a hole. I know it's hard to see. Trust me, there's a hole in there now. And same thing for the other side. So we got a couple of holes in a piece of plastic. Then we're going to take our screws and we're going to put the screws up through the hole. Can I do that without having to? Looks like I may actually have to get a screwdriver out. Yeah, let's do that. So what I'm going to do is, instead of getting the whole screwdriver, I'm just going to get the little bit on the end. These look like square heads. These are squares. Okay. see, will this do? Yes, that will do. Okay. I'm going to keep this handy because we're probably going to need it in a sec. You just want to make sure this is up all the way through your plastic bracket. Like so. So there we go. We've just got a little plastic bracket with a couple of screws on it. Real easy, real simple. So what we want to do with this is we want to put this between the fleece and the foam skull, right between the skin and the skull. Because that way it's going to keep it protected from the performer's hand, and it's also going to help hold it in place. But we need to make a couple of holes in the fleece at a very precise point in order to do that. So what we're going to do, this is going to be real hard to show on camera, I'm afraid, but let's try and do it with the overhead camera. That's the wrong camera. There we go. And let me get the big stand out here. Maybe this will help. I'm trying to get this close to the camera. I'm also going to clamp this mouth shut. Okay, we're going to have to move this back or move the camera forward. In fact, I'm going to move the camera forward. Forgive me, this is going to be shaky cam for a second here, but let's see. How's that? I got so much stuff on the way. This is how I typically work. I just got stuff everywhere. So what we want to do is we want to take our puppet head, figure out about where. Now remember, this is a curved surface, so it's going to be a bit different than what the template shows. We're going to lay the template on. Let's kind of figure out about where we want the eyes to mount. You can put them further up or further down. It really depends on your character and what kind of a vibe you're going for. And the reason I have this center point marked here is because, see, we're putting this on the center seam of the head. So we're trying to keep it more or less centered. Now, if your center seam isn't on the actual physical center of the head, which is entirely possible, make sure you actually look at it in real life and sort of center it up if it's not. It's more important to keep the eyes centered than the actual center seam. So now that we've got it probably about there, I think is where we're going to put it. I'm going to put a couple of pins in. I'm going to put a pin in here and a pin here. All right, so we're just going to hold that in place like so. Now we're going to want to make a couple of very small holes only in the fleece, not in the foam. But we need to mark out where we're going to put those holes. So I'm going to take a marker here and I'm going to lift the pin a little bit. And before I take the pin out, I'm just going to put a little mark at the base of the pin, which I know you can't see, but trust me, there is a little mark there that I can just barely see it. That's all you need. Right? Now we can take this out. And you can kind of see that on the camera. We've got a couple of marks at 40 millimeters apart where we want to make some holes. Now, we probably want to make the holes just like the template, a little closer together than that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it all. And I'm just going to poke a couple of holes a little bit further in from that mark. It's easier if you do this with your hand inside the puppet, so forgive me, I'm going to sit down for a second and do it, and being very, very careful not to pierce my hand, you know, unless you're into that kind of thing. There we go. Like so. All right. So now we've made a couple of very small holes in the fleece. I'm going to take the clamp out now because it's kind of getting in the way. So this unfortunately is extremely difficult to show on camera. But what I'm doing is I'm kind of snaking my hand up through the puppet and between the fleece and the foam skull, okay? Yeah, it does look, this is a pretty good green. So in order to facilitate this, you're gonna have to sort of finagle a little bit. I'm gonna take this bracket and I'm gonna push it up through here, keep it in my palm so it's not snagging, and then try very carefully. Here's one. We got one up through. You got to be real gentle with this because this is of course easy to make these wood screws poke where you don't want them to poke. Okay, there we go. That looks good. So there we are. You see where we're going with this now, right? This is like if Clive Barker designed a Greebly, right? But the nice part is now, because these are solid EVA foam, we can literally just, we're gonna make a little starter hole, but then we can just like turn these right down onto the screws. So, and the good thing is, since these are spheres, it doesn't matter where we make the hole. We can just make any hole anywhere because it's going to be in the center because it's a sphere. So I'm just gonna make a little starter hole in each of these. And then we'll put our hand back up in here, and so we just put that right down onto the screw, and we literally just turn it like so. And I'm pushing up from below. Now what might happen, and the reason I kept that, in fact is happening, is there's enough resistance on the foam that it's actually unscrewing the screw. So what I'm gonna do is take our little screw drill bit thingy here. I'm gonna try and hold the screw in place as I turn the eye so they can join up nice and snug and not have the screw poke down. I'm gonna be gentle, you wanna go slow, but this is a really, really good way of attaching these, and this is going to be very solid. Very, very sturdy. And no adhesive required, you will note. And of course, the nice part about this is you can literally just take them off then. If you want to change them or do something else or put some eyelids or something, you can just take these off. It's really nice. This is an extremely good way of doing this. So, there we go. That's like it. We're getting through all these things much faster than I had planned on, so we can actually do some fur stuff now. And there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Could you have glued the screw in place before putting it inside the puppet skin? Yeah, you absolutely could. I prefer not to because I like the kind of modularity of this, right? I can literally just take this all apart if I want to. And that's a really nice option to have always. I'm gonna tighten down the new one I just put in just a little bit. Just want to make sure it's all nice and snug. But this is very robust. And it also feels great. Like on the inside, there's nothing. There's just foam. So it's very, very comfortable. It's very, very sturdy, right? Like this just, it's perfect. There's no better way that I can think of to do this. So there we go. Right, there's our undead Greebly right now. So the next thing I'm going to do, again, they move together, right? Like it's just perfect. It's so nice to do it this way. Yeah, these are 3D printed TPU mouth plates, FYI. Although you could make these kind of mouth plates, you can also do out of that flexible cutting board as well. Before I got the 3D printer, that's how I made these. So yeah, there we go. There's our, if you want to make a frog, for example, there's a good way of attaching the eyes. A lot of trial and error led me to this method. More error than trial. First trial, then error. So now what we want to do is I'm going to do, I guess, the hair, fur bits, the hair. So what I want to do for both of these is a little bit of hair on the top, and I also want to do a fur collar. It just looks nice. It just gives some kind of definition and separation. So that's what we have to think about colors. So let me go back to, I'll go back to the overhead cam here. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I do that, I'm going to go to the wide cam, because this is probably going to be the more useful camera at the moment. There's something going on with the frame rate of this camera. Every camera is broken. Oh, we should probably put these eyes on too. How do we do that? Actually, very similar method. Basically, I'm going to do with these, what I did with these, I'm just going to use this as the bracket rather than the bracket. Wow, my brain just stopped right now, just gone. Well, here I'm going to move the overhead camera back into position here. Okay. Where's the blue one? There's the blue one. So for where I'm going to put the holes, for these eyes, it's a slightly different method. First of all, I'm going to make sure it's all kind of laying, the fleece is laying over the skin, or over the skull is in the position that I want. And as you can see, these have a central shaft. So I'm gonna just kind of eyeball these. See where I feel. Do the vibe check. There. Just kind of, again, this is why I don't worry too much about making them mathematically perfect. I just kind of, what feels right. And you always want to put these a little bit wider than how you want them to end up, because once you screw these down, they'll kind of press into the foam and be a little bit closer together, so something to be aware of. But usually what I do is I get them in place and I hold them there like that. Make sure that that's good. Then I'll take one away. First of all, I'm going to press this down a little bit, because sometimes you can get lucky. Oh, I am lucky. You can't see it, but there's an impression in the fleece of the eye, including where the center shaft is. So it's quite easy to see that's the center point. So I've marked the center points. However you want to do that, there'll probably be, if you're doing it different than me, which you probably are, you're going to have to develop your own way of figuring out where the center is. But after I've got the pins in place, then I also want to look at it again and make sure that the pins look even. Which, yeah, that will do, I think. But once you've got the pins in place, same process. Mark it around the base of the pin. Remove the pins. And now we have two marks where we're going to make some holes. And we're going to get our olive. We're going to make now the holes for these. You know what? Let's go to this camera, because this will probably be a little bit actually easier to see what I'm doing. I'm going to take the clamp off the mouth. These are just chip clips, FYI, if you ever need to hold a puppet mouth closed. Real handy. I'm gonna put my hand between the fleece and the foam. And I'm going to very, very carefully, because you could really just stab yourself. Don't do that. I'm gonna separate my fingers, right? So there's like a gap where the hole is. I'm gonna poke the awl down into that carefully. Here we are. So now it's in, and I'm holding it in place with my knuckles. Okay, and I'm gonna kind of swirl this around and kind of open that hole up a little bit. Not too much because it's fleece, it's stretchy. So you need to make a slightly larger hole than just poking it, basically. You just want to kind of loosen it up. Okay, here we go. So now, same process as with the bracket. I'm going to take our little peg and shaft here and push that through, and hopefully, so you don't have to fix the fleece and foam underneath. And everybody goes, nope, I don't. You can. I tend to not, because if you've got the fleece and the foam skull right, it'll just hold it in place. I actually do need to make this hole a little bit bigger. It's better to not make it too big to start and to kind of widen it as you go. This is always a bit of a struggle, so. Okay, let's see how that does. Got a couple of extra fibers in here I want to get rid of. How's that? There we go. All right. So, as you can see, very similar process to what we just did. And yeah, the fleece will just like hold this in place. This is pretty solid. It will shift around a little bit, but that's okay. Like, I actually want that, because if the eyes aren't quite even, you can kind of move them around and shift them, right? It's helpful to not have it locked into place. You gotta remain flexible. All right. This is actually a really good demonstration, because I just realized this now. I didn't even plan on this, but showing like how I do it with the peg, and then also showing how I do it with the wood screws. It's exactly the same process, but it's just like you don't need a 3D printer to do this. It's basically with the lesson, right? Like, you could do this with just stuff. The fact that these are like fancy 3D printed ones doesn't matter. The process is the same. Make holes, poke something up through the holes, mount whatever it is you're mounting on that. Because the advantage here is that there's nothing touching the performer's skin. Like, my hand is very, very comfortable in there because it's just foam. Right? So now that we've got this, because these are threaded rods, these can literally just like, I got inspired to do this by doing the wood screw method, is just turning these. And you want them relatively tight, but don't tighten them too much to start, because obviously you want to make the eyelids even. Okay, so that's not even, as you could tell, but that's okay. I'm going to get under here. I'm going to loosen this one up a little bit, because we want to be able to turn it and then tighten it, right? We want to make them even first and then tighten it all up. So let's see. Unfortunately, again, this is one of those really hard to show on camera things, because this is how I usually do it. I just look at the puppet like this, right? So it's hard to show on camera unless I have a camera mounted on my forehead, you know, which is not happening. So I am just sort of getting these even, tightening them up, and you can make little adjustments afterwards, of course, as always. You will probably have to adjust these a few times before you're happy with it. I'm not going to do that on stream because that's just, you know, not a thing you want to do on stream. But I wanted to get the eyes at least in place, if not, like, you know, totally locked off before I start doing the hair. What's the difference between hot metal stick and a tool used today for making the holes? Ah, yes, good point. So often when we make a hole to mount something through, I'll use the hot rod method, which is a piece of copper-clad steel welding wire that we heat up to glowing, and then we burn a hole. Difference is that when I'm going through foam, that's when I'm going to use the hot rod method. If I'm just making a hole in fleece, it's okay to poke the hole as long as you don't cut it. Poking it, you know, with a sharp stick, literally, this is just a metal awl. You're not. If you slice the fibers, then that's when it can fray and unravel. If you poke a hole, you're basically just forcing the fibers apart. So this won't fray, and if you cut a hole, it will fray. So that's why we would do either, is to avoid fraying. If you burn it, what it does is it basically cauterizes it. It makes like because this is all synthetics, it melts the plastic, right? And it makes a nice, clean, finished, entranceway. This, because we're not going into foam, we're only going into fleece. I didn't need to. The hot rod method would work, but it would just be too much. It would also be very easy to just accidentally go through the foam. So that's why I would opt to use the awl rather than the welding wire for this, because I'm specifically only going through fabric. So that's why. Good question, though. And there we go. That's actually pretty good. That's, in terms of evenness, that's pretty bang on there, I think. Good stuff. Okay. And of course, we can always like decide if we want the character to be more sleepy or more awake or whatever. We can adjust these based on that. I haven't decided that yet, so I'm not going to make those adjustments, but here we are. Hey, there we go. Progress. What do you think? My pleasure. Thank you for asking. Okay, so now we're going to think about fur, i.e. hair, which from a zoological point of view is the same thing. I think we're going to go monochromatic. I think I'm going to put blue fur on the blue puppet and green fur on the green puppet. Don't do opposite. Don't do blue fur on the green puppet. A lighting director will get mad at you and curse your name unto the nth generation. Sometimes I like the whole kind of single color thing. And I happen to have, I turn and look at my fur supply and I go, because we've got the purple eyelids on the blue one already, so maybe purple fur would be good on this. And that would also not violate our green/blue screen situation. And I do have some rather nice purple fur. Maybe we'll do that. First thing I always check before I go, because over on where I'm looking is my shelf where I've got my kind of bulk fur, my rolls of fur. And I will often have scraps of that fur saved in one of the 6 scrap bags got here. I really should thin this out. On the other hand, see, I keep changing my mind. On the other hand, I've got this, and this is all of this that I have. This is a really beautiful, like cornflower blue. It's very, very soft and silky. This would be real nice, actually. Maybe we will go with the blue. See what we think. I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good. What do we think of? do you think of that? That's, you know, I like it. I'm down with it. Yeah. Yeah, I want that. Okay, we are gonna go blue and blue. This is how I work all the time. FYI, this is whenever you see the finished puppet, it's because I've done this. I've just like gone this, no this, no this. It's all vibes, man. It's all vibes, just in the moment. Do I have green? Yes, I do. I don't have a lot of it, but we don't need a lot of it. Let me check once again the scrap pile to see if we've got any green. I have quite a lot of fur scrap, so we might have something. Oh yes, yes we do. Excellent, good stuff. All right, here we go. Some nice vaguely green. And again, these aren't exactly the same color, so there's some contrast here. This is a real Oscar green. This one. Yeah, we're good with that. Okay, there we go. We got what we're gonna do. What time is it? Got half an hour. Good heavens, we're really motoring through this. I think these will be finished today. I do believe. Okay, let's do one at a time. Make sure that the hot glue is warmed up, and it is, and oh boy. We're gonna get up close and personal with some hot glue here, folks. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is the hair for the top of the head, and that's real easy. The frosted tips, yeah, I know it is. It's like a cornflower is the word I keep coming back to. It's not even frosted tips. That's the lighting. That's the sheen that this has. It's really, you can see as I move it, right? It's really, really nice. I love this stuff. Unfortunately, I don't think I could get any more of it. At least not easily. I require a throat lozenge. I also hope that Jimmy doesn't come in, because I just pushed my chair back really fast. And I try to not do that ever because I'm really terrified of rolling over Jimmy. Am I out of throat lozenges? No, I'm not. Okay. That would be terrible for everybody. There we go. Yeah, this is old stock. I think this may have been from Puppet Pelts. Back in the Laurie and Cindy days. I've still got a bunch of stuff. Still got a bunch of cultural artifacts from the olden days of 5 years ago. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is we're going to do the hair for the top of the head, which is really just a circle. Nice and simple. And usually what I'll do is I'll just grab something about the right size. For example, this. And there we are. Move you aside. Oh, this is this camera's got a problem because it's auto-focusing on the things closer to it, which it should do. But unfortunately, those things are making it so we can't focus on the thing we want to focus on. So let me just move our friends out of the way here. Here we are, much better. Okay. So I'm going to use this bit over here. Oh yeah, no, I mean I've got, you know, I've got real circle templates, but a circle's a circle. Right? It's hard to go wrong unless it's not a real circle. I mean, as you can see, I've been here before. Yeah. So we're just gonna draw our circle like so. And I am going to leave a bit of a seam allowance, so we're just gonna eyeball that in. Like so, and now we will cut it out. As always, taking care to cut only the netting and not the fur. Which is why we do little teeny tiny snips. It's almost like I've said that a million times. Yes, this is a slow process. If you wanted fast, you wouldn't be building puppets. I think what we're gonna do here is I'm gonna get these cut out, and then we're gonna finish the edge. I'm not gonna actually attach these to the puppets yet because I'm not quite sure yet how I want to do that. I don't know if I want to glue or if I want to stitch. So I will decide that after we get through this part, but I'm not gonna do that part on stream. Basically on stream, I'm gonna get these, finish the edge, and then we're gonna call it for the stream. So, speaking of finishing the edge, so as you can see, now we've got our circle of fur with the nice full length. If we were to put this in some way, either stitching or gluing on a puppet, we have this raw netting edge here, which we can get close to the camera here, is unpleasant to look at. So what I will do, if you're stitching, you don't necessarily need to worry about this, because if you like ladder stitch this down, that will kind of fold this over naturally. But in case I decide to glue this, what I will do is take the edge that's exposed, because the fur isn't laying over it. So because it's a circle, there will always be half of it, you know, this half. And I glue this edge folded over like that. So that means you can do it with contact cement, and probably is recommended to do with contact cement, but for the sake of expediency, I will use the much maligned, deservedly so, hot melt. Once again, don't touch this when it's molten. I'm gonna put a little bit on the edge here. And only a little section at a time. Gonna let that cool a little bit. And then before it completely sets up, we're gonna fold that over and just kind of hold it in place for a second. And as long as you can do this without burning yourself, this is a quite effective way of handling this. Some kind of weird alarm going on outside I've never heard before. So the Americans are invading already. Watching like too much time, that's not even going to be a joke. And like so. And I only go down as far as I need to. Probably this one should go a little bit farther. Because, you know, at the bottom end here, the fur is lying over top of that, so we don't need to cover that. You can if you want, absolutely. You can finish the whole edge if you want. That will give you the most kind of insurance, but I'm not going to need to do that, so I won't. And if you just go slow and work in little sections, it's fine. right. A little bit more here. But what that does, once you're done, is now, so you can see what I did there, because now there's the edge, right? It's all nice and smooth and clean and finished, and you don't have the nasty raw netting on the edge there. It's just a nice clean edge. And you can attach that any way you like, stitching or gluing. And look tidy. It's good. So the way I'm going to put this on, I'm probably going to glue it. Let's be real. Where'd the blue one go? There's the blue one. So, as you can tell by the bad frame rate, there's a number of ways we can put this on. Because this fur has a direction, as all fur does, we could go kind of in any direction and it will work. And it's fun to kind of experiment. Particularly if you're doing a human character, that's when I'll really experiment with this. So we can put it going, you know, all the way back, for example. And there we go. That's a kind of standard, you know. Or flip it around and put it going forward, hanging over the eyes. And there we've got kind of a Uber Fraggle kind of a vibe going on there. Or we can do it kind of halfway. Do kind of a swoopy, you know, kind of half. I'm not sure. That's not a pixie cut. Similar. But, you know, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can do like multiple pieces of this going in different directions. Or if you want a center part, for example, you do 2 of these. You know, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. But for this, I think I'll probably go like that. I think I'll probably do the forward swoop. Because that's fun, because then you can like sort of comb it out of the way and separate it around the eyes, and, you know, that's just fun. Have fun with your fur. Yeah, I'll probably do something like that. Also, if you want different contours, obviously you don't have to make this a circle. You can do like an actual hairline and stuff like that with this, and you can get funkier. You be as funky as you want to be. The moral story of my life. Having seen some of the Muppets on display at the Center for Puppetry Arts, it's surprising how many will actually have the fur today exposed. I know, for sure, yeah. That's one of the things I remember being a kid and seeing actual Muppets for the first time at the Art of the Muppets tour that I've talked about a few times, but actually seeing the real, you know, screen-used puppets, it's they were surprisingly rough, and you never would pick that up on camera. Like, again, because on camera they're kind of making them good for that shot, right? And the actual like in-use working puppet is probably not in great shape. They just got to get the shot. They just have to do it for that, right? So that's one of the funny things, is like when you see, most of the time when you see a screen-used prop of any kind, it's a little bit disappointing because it doesn't look like the thing you remember, right? It never does. And that, I think, is kind of fun and exciting. I actually like that quite a lot. But yeah, you're quite right. I've seen, there's a really great picture I took actually when I went to New York, because they've got at the Museum of the Moving Image, they've got the Big Henson exhibit there, and there's quite a few there. And they, of course, have done museum restorations on this, so they're not exactly like they were for shooting the show, but some of the stuff you try to preserve as much of the original as you can when you're doing a museum restoration, and which is what you would have seen, Joe, at the Center for Puppetry Arts. So they try and keep as much of the original materials and look of it as is physically possible. So what I remember most clearly is Nigel, the band leader. On his mouth, because he's all carved foam, right? He's all like just exposed raw dyed foam. And in his mouth, you could actually see like the globs of glue that are holding down the foam in the mouth plate. It was wild. I'm like, I never would have imagined that it looked like this. I've actually got the photograph somewhere. I should bring them out sometime and have a look, because it was like, oh, this does not look like what the thing in my head is. This is surprisingly, well, clearly handmade, right? Something I keep trying to get across to people is like, the handmade things look handmade, and that's good, and you want that, which means they're not going to look like they were made in a factory and all pristine and perfect, right? But that's part of the appeal of this, is that they have an organicness, they have a real life to them, because human hands have made them, which these days is increasingly rare and increasingly precious. So I think we should embrace it. So, yeah, very good point, Joe. Thank you. That's yeah, it's strange to actually see them up close for the first time and go, oh, right? Just the thought that, like, when I was researching to do the frog back here, there were some archival museum photos that I came across that of the restorations, and it's things like the underside of the hand. I remember this very clearly because I tried to replicate how it was constructed, which I think I did a pretty good job of, because it was clear from the photographs how it was folded, because the glue, whatever contact cement they use, I don't think Barge was around at the time, when it ages, it actually goes like a dark red. And so all of the seams for Kermit's fingers, because of the old style, the floppy finger style, which is my preferred Kermit style, were like just these dark red lines around every single seam where they had just glued fleece together. And so the advantage for me was it was really clear how it was put together, right? Because you can see, oh, okay, each finger is just like whatever the core is, whatever, rubber flexible material is there, and they just folded a piece of fleece around that and glued it shut. And it was really clear. And here's the fun part. This is how detailed I got with it. So Kermit, as you may know, is one of the few Muppets that has 4 fingers and a thumb. And in the old pre-Muppet movie style with the floppy fingers, as I said, you've basically got the core of, I don't know what they use. They probably used rubber. That's why they flop around like that. But it's basically a thin strip of that with the fleece folded. And you can really see it on the tips of the fingers because there's like a U shape in the cross section. And I can't remember off the top of my head, it was on 3 of them, it was folded from the top down, and then on the last one, it was folded from the bottom up. For some reason, it was not consistent through every finger. And I'm like, whoa, I could not believe there was that. And there was no reason to do it that way that I could see. It may have just been a mistake. Right, like they could have just been working on this Kermit late at night and gone, oh crap, well, no one's gonna see that. Right? And it's true, because no one would have seen it until the museum took these archival photos and the glue had aged for 40 years or whatever it was that these photos were taken. It was wild. But yeah, that can happen. That's the thing. Handmade things look handmade, including our beloved Muppets. So yeah. On that note, actually, now that I think about it, I look at the time, I'm kind of hungry and I want to break for lunch. And that's a nice place to end. So, oh, look at this. Look at this. Daniel shows up just as I'm ending the stream, literally. How you doing, Daniel? Nice to see you. Welcome to the Puppet Pit. This isn't a Warframe stream. I don't know if you could tell that it's not a Warframe stream, but it's not. Yeah, I know. I'm literally signing off as you show up. But hey, don't worry. All of the archives are saved on the YouTube and the PeerTube server. So if you want to go back and see what we worked on today, here's a little preview of what we worked on today. This here agreeably. Yeah. Well, thank you for showing up. Regardless, that's very nice. One of my Warframe Alliance friends, everybody. Speaking of Warframe, I hope to be streaming some this weekend. Another close-up revelation was Cookie Monster's eyes worked. Yes, yes, absolutely. The little pin basically that holds them in place, and they're kind of raised off of the surface, so that it'll just spin around. It's wild. Yeah, it's actually a little hard to accomplish that because you have to hold the disc of the pupil off of the surface of the sphere a little bit, right? So you gotta put a little kind of collar under the pin so it will spin freely. It's actually very, very tricky and requires a lot of maintenance. They fall apart easily. Where was day is calm, you know? Amen to that, brother. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna sign off now. I'm so bad at this. I never can do it cleanly. OperationPuppet.com, as you can kind of see as I'm trying to get out of the way. For all of the links, we are recording the next episode of the first episode of season 4 of the podcast is happening tomorrow night. So that will be out by Saturday morning, and hope you all stay sane and safe and take care of yourselves. And somehow, some way, we will get through this. I promise. You know, what can I say? I'm going to be here, hopefully providing some respite from the madness out there. And speaking of respite, I'm going to go have lunch. So have a nice rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend. Hopefully you'll listen to the podcast, OperationPuppet.com. Like and subscribe, you know, all of the YouTuber type things, all of the things. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Gotta find it. Where's the right button? I can remember the right button.